Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of the Rich and Turbo Heavy Half Hour. You just get Rich as the host today. You can find me on X at FuzzDoomRip for now. You can find me on all the other socials at rich.pytho. You can also find me doing reviews from Wikipedia of Metal and as a Doom Charts contributor. I am very excited to have a band that we've been a fan of for a while and has some new material out called Rattlesnake Venom Trip. I have Kevin, and Shane is trying to join us, and there he is. Hey, Shane, how you doing? Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
A little bit of technical difficulties there.
All good, all good. I am. You are now a two-time guest on the show, as you also are playing double duty. So we'll talk about that in a little while. But Kevin, talking about Rattlesnake Venom Trip, there was a guy who I was acquaintances with on X, went by Daryl, and Daryl said, "Hey, I have a buddy who's putting together a band who has stuff that you love," because he knew me as kind of the stoner doom grunge guy, even though I'm wearing my Dayton, Ohio Guided by Voices shirt right now. We'll talk about that later. He's like, yeah, here's some songs. And then I think Kevin you and I corresponded about some codes and stuff. And here we are. And I guess what triggered this is you guys are doing a new EP coming out soon called Eclipse The Sun, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about all that, if you guys don't mind.
Sure. So, yeah, it was a while since we had been into the studio. We had, a few songs that we had written at that point in time since our last album, which, was 2 years ago. And we were basically kind of deciding what we wanted to do. We had worked on the idea of making a vinyl release of our full length. And that's essentially where we were heading. But then I kind of had a talk with the guys and decided that we'd save some money up. Maybe the best idea would be to go record music rather than do a vinyl release at this time. We're going to revisit that idea, but we had some songs and we just really needed to get going on, releasing new material. So we decided just to record basically 3 songs that we had at that time. There was also a 4th song that didn't make it onto our full length, and we kind of finished that one up. So essentially we have 3 new songs and 1 really old song that got remixed, new vocals on it, and that's going to be the last song of the 4 that get released. So essentially we just had some music and we needed to get moving on it. I think it was a good idea at this point in time because it's also sparked some additional things we're getting ready to do. But yeah, 4 songs getting released, and we are just releasing them individually as singles. The idea was hoping for a couple different things, with the attention span and everything going on. I just wanted to kind of keep something with some longevity, keep some information going out about us releasing music until we kind of decided what our next move is. Also, with the whole streaming services and how things are, they just, I've heard that it's better to release singles. You get a little bit more attention in the streaming world. I don't know. We're just kind of experimenting at this point in time, but either way, we're just excited to get the new music out there.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have heard all 4 of the songs and really, really dig what you guys are doing. And I don't want to say it's a different direction, but I feel like we'll talk a little bit about the song specifically, but I feel like maybe a little bit of a metal direction. Is metaler a word? I'm not even sure if that's really a word, but especially when I listen to a track like Hollowed Eyes. But we'll get into that. Shane, I want to say hi to you as the drummer, and you and I have spoken before, correct?
Yes. What was that? A few weeks ago?
A few weeks ago, as Kevin is sharing Shane with the wonderful band Wolftooth, who are also putting out a record in November, or very soon, right? Yeah, it's a killer record. So kind of commuting between Indiana and Dayton, right, to make sure both bands are taken care of here. So musically, I want to talk about the EP. I hear Hollowed Eyes to start. I'm hearing a little thrashiness, maybe at the beginning, until it slows down a little bit, and then you kind of get back into, I think, what a lot of people compared your first record to, like kind of a grungy sound. What was the approach on the new songs that you had, if it was any different compared to what you guys did on the record, the first record?
I don't know. It's interesting because I don't know that we really take any approach to this. We just kind of like write stuff, and I feel like we're all inspired differently. So there's a bunch of different influences in there. And obviously, metal. I mean, I was when I first started playing guitar and writing music, metal was my major influence, but I can't say that's my only. I listened to Black Sabbath growing up. I listened to Led Zeppelin. But the early metal, Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, all that kind of stuff was really where I was learning to play guitar. But I like the mellower sides of things as well. I like the grunge era. I like things like Pink Floyd and more spacier type things. I think eventually we'll probably, and I can already tell with some of our new material, we are experimenting in that direction. So it won't be just necessarily some, a metal influence or whatever, but I mean, we have Marshalls and heavy guitars, so that'll always be, heavy distortion. That's always going to be there, but definitely, there are some different things happening right now in our newer approach here. And, so I don't know. We don't have an approach necessarily. It's just whatever sounds cool. And if it's heavy, great. If it goes in a different direction, like the song Brushstrokes, where the beginning of it's a little bit more atmospheric and melodic, I think it's cool. I'd like to see us kind of go in all kinds of directions while maintaining our sound, I guess, kind of in the long run. But yeah, no real approach, just writing stuff and seeing what happens.
Yeah, excellent. And Shane, how is this how is working with Kevin in this band different than, say, working with Wolftooth? Is it a different type of experience given? I say this not like as please don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like Wolftooth is like, I don't want to say a full-time job, but like that's like, it's Wolftooth. Like they were on like this big label, and they're on Ripple now, but it's like this like entity where Kevin and Rattlesnake Venom Trip is not like I'll get to it when I get to it, but a little bit less of like this like super main project. You know what I mean? I'm probably not describing it the way that it's in my head, but maybe you can take some of my babbling and make it make sense.
So Kevin and I, and as well as Matt Tackett, our bass player, were previously in a band, early mid 2000s, 12 Tribes, and that was our full time band touring all over Europe and the United States. That was a big thing. Um, and at that point, like Kevin's writing has always been something. It's different than what I hear from other bands. It's challenging, and so there's this connection, and after that band had sort of dissolved quietly, um, Kevin went on to do Neon Warship, and I actually played with the guys in Wolftooth in a different band, and and then work, family, everything else comes into play. And back in 2017, Kevin and I got back together, and it's been a long process, long time, but I view Rattlesnake Venom Trip like that is my creative outlet. That is my band. With Wolftooth, love those dudes. I haven't contributed writing, so it's like going into a band. I can do it. I love playing with those dudes because it's a lot of fun. You get up there and just slam out, these songs. But from a creative standpoint, Rattlesnake Venom Trip is my thing,
That's
and
awesome.
so it's a tight balancing act. These next 2 weeks are a pressure cooker for me because Rattlesnake Venom Trip is in the process of writing new material. Wolftooth has their album coming out, and also prepping to reintegrate into my brain 17 Black Sabbath songs for next Saturday. So there are times I'm like, maybe I overextended myself. It, I love playing drums and I love, getting out there and playing, but I really do love creating at the same time.
I I I don't necessarily pride myself on research before shows, but I also do like to at least figure out who I'm talking to. And I have failed miserably in this case because I did not know that you guys were in 12 Tribes. And I did not know that was a thing. I was a big Eulogy Records fan back in the day, South Florida, that label. A guy I was good friends with was like, he worked with them at that label and big fan of like the early Poison the Well stuff and that
Absolutely.
stuff and also like Doghouse Records and some of the like the bands like Snapcase and some of the northeastern hardcore stuff like Earth Crisis and stuff like that. So I did not know that you guys were part of 12 Tribes. That is now blowing my mind. So
A
Yeah.
little Here's a little known fact, and there was a sticker because they just did a show, and it was like I was a drummer in Shy Elude, and I did a brief, like a full Canadian tour, European tour, and some random dates way back in end of 2007. So I had some
I
fucking brain melt.
Yeah, I've failed miserably. This is it's
Oh,
very cool that I'm talking to you guys and in both a band that I really enjoyed then and what you guys are doing now. So that's very very cool. It's also interesting how many bands that I talk to who come from like a kind of like a hardcore metalcore background who are doing kind of the sound that you guys are doing today. I'd say maybe 70 to 80% of those guys who were hardcore metalcore that type
yeah.
of stuff are playing more of like the whatever we call our stuff now, stoner grungy stuff. So I guess my first question is, you guys have played a lot together. What's different now playing what you're playing now compared to playing something like you were doing in 12 Tribes? This interview is going in a whole different direction than I planned on it. But if you don't mind, is that something that you can talk a little bit about?
Uh, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I think it's just, I mean, my mentality hasn't really changed much, which is interesting. But I think I'm just letting personally myself be more free with ideas, um, not worrying about pigeonholing myself. I think in the 12 Tribes era, I was really like like focused on a direction for the band. I felt like we had this sound, this thing that I wanted to do, and that came out that way. But it was harder to write songs. I think I just overthought them. I think now I'm just trying to be open to whatever feels right, and not really think too much about it and just let the things flow. A lot of our songs kind of come out of me just playing in my basement by myself, and I just kind of go through these motions of like writing some music together, and the music always comes first. Vocals come second, but usually I come up with these parts, and then by the time I'm done, I've kind of got this like song, and I bring it to the guys, and I start kind of work it out till we have something kind of finalized. Um, but definitely a much more freer, open-minded type thing going on for me. Just let the music flow. Whatever happens, cool. I'm not concerned about hardcore music or being, in a scene, and or, or so to say, like I was back then. But
Yeah,
a lot of my thoughts of processing riffs, though, hasn't changed much. I just still kind of do the same thing back then, just open to different things happening. And I'm really excited about that as far as writing goes, because I see atmospheric being more of an idea introduced here. I've got some stuff that we've already kind of introduced song wise, and it's definitely exciting. So, yeah.
very cool, very cool. It's interesting. Like there's a band out of Tampa who I've really grown to love. One of my favorite new bands called Florist, and the rhythm section is just these two big dudes who just played hardcore, and they're like, I'm done. Like I want to do something spacey. I want to be Hawkwind. I don't want to be what we're doing here. I want to do something more and more expansive, and things that allow our creativity to kind of flow. And not that you can't be on the hardcore side. But I think what you're doing now, kind of like as you mentioned, allows you to do a little bit more. And I think 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, it was very sceney, if that's a word. Being on the periphery of it, and just the guy who I knew, and the politics and the interactions with some of the bands and stuff like that. Different vibe than like me talking to you guys or talking to other bands who are in like this kind of heavy underground kind of thing that we got going on. So
Yeah.
big difference. I'm blown away. I'm going to go listen to 12 Tribes later because it's been so long. But I wanted to
have to as well.
What's that? There you go. What's that, Jake?
I did want to say, like coming from that background and how we grew up with metal and everything. So when we show up for practice, it's like Kevin has some mellow stuff, he has some heavy stuff. Sometimes you're just amped and you're just like, yeah, that's you want to get that aggression and stop out, and you come up with some really cool stuff, and then you also let yourself go. And I think that's why when you look at the EP, you can see growth throughout, and pretty exciting. But it's just a natural thing to be very natural to play heavy music, and then all the other stuff is as we've grown.
And I think when I look at Hallowed Eyes, for example, it feels like that was part of the amped up portion of one of your sessions, which I think is very, very cool. It almost gives me, like you mentioned, Megadeth, like musically, like I hear like almost like a Megadeth kind of riff and vibe going on there. You sing a lot better than Dave Mustaine does, but that's a whole other story. But that's kind of what I'm hearing. And then the other part I love about that song is the tempo change, that you're going at it like that, and then it just kind of slows down. It's almost like the grunge equivalent of a breakdown, which is very, very cool. Tell me a little bit about Hallowed Eyes, if you don't mind, because that's a track that I'm really, really digging.
Sure. So essentially, I wrote this.
Iterations of that beginning.
What's that?
Multiple iterations of that beginning.
So yeah, getting back to the 12 Tribes stuff. 12 Tribes experimented with a lot of odd time signatures. I will explore those type of things. And the opening riff to that song was in some really weird time signature. And I remember showing it to Shane. It had some weird, like, 16th count. I can't even recall. I could probably play it if I wanted to. But I was like, it just felt so jarring that I kind of was like, let me dial that back a little bit. And then the first riff kind of came out, and it was much more straightforward after that. But I noticed the drive for it, and I was like, oh, this seems right. So let's venture down that for a little bit. And then, I wrote that riff. It's pretty much just the single riff. Shane came up with his drum beat, which comes in the beginning, which is, pretty driving. It kind of like mimics the riff a little bit, but then it switches and it like grooves out the riff, which that was kind of what started the whole thing. pretty sure I had the chorus at that point in time as well. And so we probably had the beginning half of the song, but I hadn't written the next part, which is the middle. And I didn't realize at the time it was a different tempo. But I did figure that out. And then I was just like, this just feels cool to like just change suddenly, pretty drastically. But it doesn't feel that odd. It just kind of goes into it. From there, the song just kind of finished itself. As far as the writing of it goes, but yeah, just that weird odd time signature riff that was just not really fitting became a much more driving centerpiece of that song, which is interesting.
I'm a big fan of tempo changes, and everything from like a Dillinger Escape Plan, Every Time I Die tempo change, to like just that, right? Just something that kind of mixes it up a little bit. I mean, yeah. I can go listen to the Ramones all day long too, but like if I'm looking for something that has a little bit more of a complexity to it, or a different vibe to it, I just love that kind of stuff, whether it's super crazy stuff or just like, thrashy to grungy as you go through.
Yeah.
And again, before I realized the band that you guys were in, I was taking notes on the EP, and I want to ask about Cold Wind Blows. Like, is Cold Wind Blows the one that was an older song that didn't make the first one? Because I took a note on that as I was listening to it, and I'm like, these guys must have been in a hardcore band at some point. I swear to God, I'm driving just now, picking up Indian food, and I'm like, these guys must have been in a hardcore band. I wonder if they come from that background. I'm like, so sometimes I outsmart myself, but tell us about that one too, because I love all four of the songs, but as of the last listen, those are the two that jump out at me. But Cold Wind Blows, left over from the last record, but tell me about it if you don't mind.
Jane, you want to take it, or you want me to?
Yeah, I know we were, we had a lot of the songs written for the album, and we wanted a real driving kind of rock song that is very Queens of the Stone Age sort of inspired, but in a different way, because it's obviously a lot more aggressive in its tone, but we recorded it once and like that's not really exactly what we're looking for, and went through it again, and that song, I mean, it goes into our live set now. It's just a great punchy driving rock song, and we starting to experiment in the middle section where it kind of drops a little. And I think that's one of the things that we've kind of strive for in a set, where it's not just one thing all the way through. You're going to go through ups and downs, light, dark, that whole Jimmy Page thing. So, yeah, that's sort of my recollection from 2020.
So I got a couple of things to say about this song, because it's an interesting song. One, the riffs just kind of lead into themselves. Like, there's really only like 3 parts to that song. It just like they just kind of go, and I would write songs like that sometimes, where there's just not really necessarily a whole lot to the song, but it just has this move about it. But that song was written, I want to say, like 3 years ago. We pretty much had it done. We were recording it in the studio. But something, when we recorded our full length, Dead Empire, I like was singing a different way. I was in this band called Neon Worship for a while, and it was really more just like clean singing, almost like falsetto type stuff. And I was originally kind of singing like that. But when I got to the studio, I just kind of let that go, and just things came a little bit more natural. I felt like I was like a little bit more gruff to add like to my voice. I just let myself kind of go, which I think was awesome, because I think it made that album a lot more interesting, especially getting into like some of the screaming territory. But when it came to singing Cold Winds Blow, I couldn't sing it. Like, for some reason my voice changed, and I tried to track that song so many times, and we just gave up. So it sucked because I didn't want to leave that song behind. So I always thought that I'd revisit it. And what happened was I just rewrote all the vocals and decided I'm going to take a different approach to it. Once I did that, we started playing it at shows, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we got to finish this song. So that's essentially how it came about for this EP, which is interesting because, like I said, the music for it was recorded when we did the Dead Empire album. It just has a different mix on it. The guy who mixed the EP mixed this song along with recording. Well, actually, interesting enough, I recorded the vocals at a different studio. But yeah, another story. But it's kind of wild how that song came back together, and I really think it's like at our shows it's one of our powerhouse songs. So usually it enters into the beginning of our set, which is good.
It reminded me a little bit of, and I say hardcore, but it almost reminded me of more like the post-hardcore stuff, like something like a Helmet or a Quicksand would do, like some of their more up-tempo bangers. Yep. That's what I took away from that one. It's killer. I'm glad that did not get left on the shelf for sure, because that one, and all 4 songs are great. I do want to say that Ablaze Said I is one of the coolest titles that I've heard in a really long time. Just like, is that like something from literature, or is that just something, because nobody just says that, right? I don't think.
No.
Be surprised at the song title we come up with as placeholder.
Hey, you're from Dayton, so Bob Pollard gets in the water system there somehow. I'm sure. My email address is Octopus Caveman, based on a Guided by Voices song. So, but yeah. So tell me about a Blaze Said I, if you don't mind, too.
Sure. Yeah. So that's another interesting thing. I think for a period of time after we finished our full length, we were still kind of like writing stuff, but nothing was really kind of sticking at that point, and I'm not really sure why. That song started out as a riff, the first riff of that song, but it actually was a part of a different song at one point, and it had different riffs, and I got to practice. I was just like, I'm just not feeling this as a whole, and so I wrote this like bridge part, and the bridge part led to the chorus, and then all of a sudden the song is different. It was like, oh, we have this like kind of full song out of that. So, but that was an experimental thing. I definitely feel like it leads more into like the grunge feel, which it's got kind of that Alice in Chains, I don't know, hint of influence in there that I really like. It gets kind of heavy in the middle, which, I don't know, Pantera fan, I feel like some of the influence there kind of comes out as well. But when I was writing the lyrics, that Ablaze Said I, for some reason, just seemed to fit, and it was like I was like reversing what I was wanting to say, because it kind of fit the melody more. I don't know, it was just one of those things. I was just writing, and I was like, oh, let's feel the pattern and the rhyming, I guess, and that just fit better than saying I set ablaze or something like that. Like, it just more of an explanation point on it.
Yeah, as a teen in the '90s, that is like such a great '90s title too. Like, it's just so perfect. Love it. And you mentioned Alice in Chains, and I think that's such an easy. It's too easy, I think, to call out some bands like you guys. I love the tempo changes. Alice in Chains is one of my favorite bands ever. And I think right now, outside of Black Sabbath, they're probably the most influential band in like the heavy underground music, which is kind of crazy. Not really, because of how awesome they were, but like, I don't think anybody saw that coming in, like the late '90s, that Alice in Chains would be like some of the most influential music of people playing hard rock today. It's very cool that it is, but it's also, I was talking with my co-host Turbo about it. Like, there's a lot of the Alice in Chainsy bands. So I love the fact that you guys throw so much different stuff at it, because there's there, all of those influences, I feel like you're pulling from, and there's a little piece of all of those things in there, Alice in Chains, plus 100 other things that you hear
Yeah.
even on the 4 songs of the EP. So
Yeah. It's hard not to say that my influences, have are in the music, like, but like, you don't want to be a carbon copy of something.
yeah,
I think the fact that I like hardcore music. I still listen to metalcore music. Killswitch Engage. I listened to their latest album just recently. The fact that I still listen to this stuff, and blending those ideas with other things, it makes more of a unique kind of feel to the music in general. I mean, I just got done, or I'm in the middle of watching the Rick Beato interview with Jerry Cantrell. I started watching that the other night, and I would have to say, as a songwriter, he's definitely one of my biggest influences. I went and saw him play on his solo tour recently, but I don't want to sound like that. It's like I want something that's unique enough that has like this. I mean, it really is just a blend of all kinds of different sounds and feels all into one. But at the same point in time, I don't want to, like, from song to song, I don't think we even sound like the same band.
right,
I mean,
yeah. Especially on the EP. The EP is I think you double down on that on the 4 songs there, which
yeah.
why I think I'm probably drawn to it, because I love. Again, I go and listen to a punk rock record that sounds the same for all 20 songs that they do for 2 minutes each. But like the things that's like candy to me is more the stuff that you don't know what's coming around the next corner, and I feel like you guys are hitting on that. And it sounds like that's what the direction even more is going to go on some of the new stuff, right? With the atmospheric, more maybe trippy, or some of the.
We have a bunch of songs that we're wrapping up. So we're in the process of kind of getting to a point where we actually have booked studio time in February to
Sweet.
record a full length. So we're pretty deep into it right now, and I think just it took a while to get the EP together, but I think once that happened, it kind of sparked this thing with us, which was let's keep this going, because this is really exciting. We have a few songs at that point in time. I think we've added at least another few songs to it. They're still kind of works in progress, but they're nearly done. I think that like that whole vibe thing of like trying to go in different directions is really apparent this time around as well. Some lengthier songs, some ones that have some breaks in the middle that go in a completely different direction before they kind of come back in. And I'm really excited. So I feel like we're kind of nailing some ideas down here for an exciting full length coming out. So
Excellent. And I think that's earlier what I meant, I think, is the album came out, and then there's a big chunk of time between the album and the EP. And I think it's very cool that you guys are kind of continuing with the momentum, getting back in the studio and doing more stuff. And I think that will be a huge help just to get people engaged, and seeing Rattlesnake Venom Trip as like this entity. And I want everyone to hear that and love it like I do. And we'll make sure that happens. I need to ask 2 questions to both of you that are not related to Rattlesnake Venom Trip. But the first one is, as ex-hardcore guys, if you had to call out one record from that time that would be your go-to record, what would it be? And is there one that comes to mind, or are you having trouble right now? I'll go to Kevin first, because Shane still looks like he's thinking. Actually, Kevin looks like he's thinking too. But I'll go to Kevin first.
Probably Snapcase Looking Glass Self. That's a tough call, though, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That would probably be my first go-to. But that was kind of like the introduction to like hardcore music for me. So yeah, that's probably the beginning there.
And interestingly enough, I went to college in Buffalo, and I didn't know hardcore from anything when I was in high school. I was a metalhead. I was wound up, a grunge guy, and I went to see Snapcase, and I was like, "What is happening?" It was it was just mind blowing what's going on. There wasn't like a huge hardcore scene in Buffalo, but all those bands came through, like Sick of It All and Orange 9mm, Into Another, like the Revelation Records bands and those kind of bands also. But Darryl, the lead singer, he used to be the clerk at the record store I used to go to all the time, Home of the Hits in Buffalo. So I'd see him, just like he would cash me out when I was, buying whatever stupid records I was buying. So yeah, that's a great album, and I love actually how they kind of added some atmosphere to their later stuff too. Like
Yeah.
they kind of grew their sound, but that first raw Looking Glass South sounded like they were recording in their dad's basement in the best kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
Heavy
color.
bass and the piccolo snare drum.
Yep. Yeah.
It just felt so unique and different to me at the time, coming from like this, metal world and kind of dipping my toes into the local hardcore scene. And that's kind of where all that came about for me is I didn't know about this stuff. I was just some kid, learning about music through high school or whatever, junior high and high school. And then like when I kind of started getting out there with music, it was like I was talking to other people, and that's the kind of stuff that drew me initially. So
One of my favorite memories
so
in Buffalo seeing Snapcase was it was at Jim Kelly's bar. But Jim Kelly had a bar at one point, and the Goo Goo Dolls were playing 2 shows that night. And the early show, maybe it was the late show, but one of those shows, Snapcase opened, and it like people were very confused. And this was when the Goo Goo Dolls, the Goo Goo Dolls were like a punk band, and then they got like poppy punk, and then they got like the hit, and it was right around when they got that hit. And they brought Snapcase in to open the show. And I just remember like 3 hardcore kids standing on the side just like going crazy. And everyone else like, I thought it was cool that they brought them into play, considering local band and helping out. But great call out, Shane. How about you? What would you say?
I would say Earth Crisis, Gamora Seasons End. Like Kevin, like just originally like Metallica, Slayer, into death metal, into Pantera, and all that stuff. So I was really immersed in that. And I remember hearing that album, and then shows over in Dayton, and then you're just like, that was pivotal. And then it's kind of funny. I can remember listening to Deliverance from Corrosion of Conformity, and then I would listen to Earth Crisis, and then do it all over again on a cassette tape. Like that was why we're so all over the place.
I have some crazy vegan hardcore show memories from my time in Western New York with things like Integrity and Evergreen Terrace and bands like that would come through, and it would just be anarchy. It would just be crazy in some gymnasium somewhere. Really, it was a lot of fun. I was talking to one band, and they said the Earth Crisis is like still a thing. Like they still tour and like they're out there still, which is amazing. And the crowds would go crazy. They're crazy on the stage, and it's I can't imagine the intensity of what I remember still like being still there like 30 years later. But it's very, very cool. It's
I couldn't imagine trying to play hardcore music at my age right now. Like the idea of how much my body was into the music as well, like playing live and just like contorting myself and jumping. Like I remember even when I was younger, I'd have like leg splints like from like jumping, and like my back would hurt and everything. Like I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I was watching. Dillinger Escape Plan played at Welcome to Rockville because I live in Florida. I was watching Dillinger, and I'm watching the guitarist. I'm like, I'm hurting standing here. This is only day 2 of like this festival, and I'm standing watching this guy, and I'm like, I'm in pain just standing here, and then I'm watching you. You have to be close to my age. Like, you have to be around my age. I'd be dead. Like, I would have a heart attack. Something bad would happen to me if I was doing what he was doing on the stage. So it was.
It's kind of funny. I was thinking the other day, I may have even mentioned it to Kevin, but we did a 12 Tribes. Our very first tour before the album came out was 2 months with Zayo, and he would do those atomic knee drops on stage. And I was like, man, I wonder what that's like now.
Yeah.
Like, what, and another thing, there was a good period of time between our first, the Dead Empire release, and now. Dead Empire was set to be released, and we played like 3 shows, and I tore my labrum.
Oh man.
So there was like shoulder recovery, surgery. That was like, we have an album out. Also, I'm just laid up on a couch.
Oh man.
Like, I can't use my shoulder. So yeah, getting old sucks.
The other thing I have to ask about is the band that I'm on my shirt. I'm talking to a Dayton, Ohio band, so I have to ask. I'm a weird guy who has a podcast about heavy underground and doom and stoner, whose favorite band in the world of all time is Guided by Voices. Like, there's this, when I do lists, I don't include them because they're above anything and beyond. And I just imagine that people walking around Dayton, Ohio, see Bob at a pizza place or see Bob at this or that. Is that true? Like, have you ever seen Robert Pollard walking around Dayton, Ohio? Are you fans? Do you care? And is this just me projecting people in Dayton thinking he's like the mayor or something like that?
Evan should have been here.
I was just going to say that. Evan has seen them quite a few times. He's a huge fan of them. I've listened to them. I like their stuff. I don't know. I never gravitated towards them like I think like some people did. But Evan would have been a good guy to have on this to talk about.
Well, we'll have him on. I'll do a full hour on it.
Yeah. Oh, he would love it.
Yeah, I have like over 500 pieces of vinyl of Guided by Voices. It's intense. And I don't think there are such things as casual Guided by Voices fans. You're either crazy or it's
so much material. It's hard to. It's kind of like jumping into like King Gizzard and being like, "Oh, where do you start?"
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you like all their everything they're generating, it's just like there's just a massive amount of music out there. One point though here, I used to work at a bar here in the Dayton area called Blind Bob's, and yes, Bob would just show up there. I've met him quite a few times. I've talked to him, but he would just show up at places. I've seen him, there a few times. So. Yeah, he's just around.
As a super fan, I saw him once walking down the street in Orlando. I think he had his new wife on his arm, and the band was coming from the hotel. And I kind of ran in the other direction. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, it might go wrong, and then it'll ruin everything for me. So I just yeah. So
when I was young, all I wanted to do was go up and say hi. And now as I get older, if I see a celebrity, I don't know, I just kind of leave them be. Like Dave Chappelle would show up at Blind Bob's every once in a while, and I'd be working, and I'd go up to the bar, and I'm like standing right next to him because I need to grab some drink orders. But he's right there, and I'm just kind of like, "Oh, hey, Dave." It's like, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not really like I said. I would love to go chat with them, but for some reason, I feel like just leaving them be.
Yeah, understood. Let Evan know that we have an hour booked to do.
We're gonna do this again.
Yeah,
I did tell him from the Wolf Tooth interview. I'm like, dude, he was bringing up Guided by Voices, and he just messaged about 10 minutes ago and was like, I just came back from Chinese food. So
next time, when the last question I'm going to ask you guys as a vinyl nerd, you kind of teased it earlier that you guys are thinking about putting the first record out on vinyl. And what are we talking about from a physical media standpoint for you guys?
Well, I think, I want to have physical media. I think we need to make sure that we've got, um, the ability, what do you call it? Like the ability to move them, because my concern is that we invest into some vinyl. We don't, I currently are not really playing live as much as I'd like to, but it's also kind of difficult for us. I don't want to be, sitting on a bunch of vinyl. So I feel like for physical media, we need to have the venue to be able to move whatever we have. I hope that happens next year. We already for the Dead Empire, we already went through finishing all the artwork. We were at the point of getting ready to order vinyl, and I think I just in my head kind of thought, what are we doing with all this money right now when we have these songs we could be recording, or at that point we get the vinyl and then we don't have money to go record.
Right.
And we're doing this all ourselves, so it's a bit of a balancing act for us. We definitely want to have vinyl. Our next full length, we're going to have vinyl for it, and we're working on that next year. We're hoping that comes out sometime in August or something. We'll be seeing some release dates on vinyl, but yeah, it's I think it's just tough because we're not a band that plays enough to really be able to afford to pay for that.
Yeah.
And distribute it.
You need a merch table. Absolutely. I mean, that's Bandcamp is great, but people there in the moment are going to go and they're going to turn around. They're going to see you guys. They're going to talk to you. They're going to buy the record. So yeah, I totally get that. Just as a vinyl nerd, get on that, guys. Get on that.
Like I said, I'm hoping that happens here. I'd like to see kind of both these things rolling out, new material on vinyl as well as old, if possible, around the same time. This is all kind of depending on what happens in the future for us. But we got to get in the studio, get these songs done, get in the studio, and take next steps from there. But that is my goal. I'd like to see us just kind of amping up at this point. We're starting with some new songs now with the EP. By the time the last one comes out, we'll be in the studio. And hopefully we'll have some material to drip out between that and the full length
Excellent.
Coming out.
So for those people listening right now, you can go to Bandcamp and you can hear the first song on the new EP called Eclipse The Sun. The song is called Hollowed Eyes. That's the one I mentioned. It's kind of thrashy and then kind of grungy and does all sorts of fun stuff. It's excellent. If you haven't heard the first record called Dead Empire, you should go listen to that too. I can't wait for everybody to hear the 4 songs on here. I can't wait to hear what else you guys are doing. I think that more people need to hear your stuff, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that happens because it's great stuff, and it's stuff that I think people are really going to dig. So, Kevin and Shane, thank you so much for coming on the show. Loved it. I kept you longer than I promised that I would keep you, but I learned a lot, and you got me all fired up on some things. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. We really appreciate you having us on here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And December 5th, A Blaze Set Eye will be out for streaming.
December 5th, everybody. Check it out. Go check out the song that's out there now. And also, Shane, congrats on the Wolftooth record dropping this week. So
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.